Welcome into KARE 11 Sports Plus alongside Julia Daniels. I'm Reggie Wilson, and we got to get it started just right out of the gate. The Wolves, double overtime thriller. A win, yet another win over the Nuggets. They have now 6 straight wins over the Nuggets going back to the postseason last year. We know how that happened. Game 7, Ant called game. They're propelled to the Western Conference Finals. And now Ant says this is a game, he says the best game he's ever been a part of in his life.
That doesn't shock me.
Even with the Game 7 last year, that's what he says.
I mean, still, if you're a competitor, this is what you live for, right? When you come out on top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine having the best day, performing the best at your job that you ever have in your entire life, and then still losing the game.
Yeah, Nikola Jokic.
Bummer.
61-point triple-double. That's the most points ever scored in a triple-double, and he loses. Let's set the scene a little bit for it. The Nuggets are without one of their assassins, Jamal Murray.
Right.
The Wolves, thanks to the tussle at Target Center, the kerfuffle, basket brawl, whatever you want to call it, they're out. Dante DiVincenzo and Naz Reid suspended the game for their actions against the Pistons on Sunday. So the Wolves are down a couple guys. The Nuggets are down one of their main guys who just got that contract extension before the season started in Jamal Murray. He's watching in his New Balance get up, and he's watching just artistry at work with Nikola Jokic. Any and everything that he wanted to do, it was working. Double team didn't matter. He's going to find the right guy, behind the back passes. And they're able to overcome multiple double-digit deficits, the Wolves are. Game goes to overtime, and we probably saw some of the worst ATO situations ever. Ant drawing the double team, kicking it out, and these ill-advised shots, one from Julius Randle to end the regulation, and then the first overtime, just a rushed shot from Jaden McDaniels as well that's off the mark. And we're like, dang, what are we doing? Is that what Finchie drew up? It couldn't be. It couldn't be. But Ant's getting these double teams, and he's kicking it out. Then we see in the double overtime, Ant gets the ball, 17 seconds left, and he sees the double team again. He tries to throw it to Julius Randle. They get their wires crossed. He thinks Randle is coming back for the ball. Randle goes away from where the ball gets thrown. Russell Westbrook gets the steal, dumps it ahead to Christian Brown.
Should be an easy win.
To Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
He has the layup. And that's probably game. And he smokes it.
Yeah.
He smokes it. And then to make things worse, the Wolves get it. Run down to the end. Ant finds Nikhil in the corner for the 3. He had 26 points on the night, but it would have been more had he made that 3. 3 is off at the buzzer. Guess what? He's fouled by Russell Westbrook.
He's getting flamed on social media.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh.
And Nikhil hits
rookie mistake.
Yeah, it's tough. And it's tough. You're talking about a future, probably first ballot Hall of Famer in Russell Westbrook.
Uncharacteristic of him.
Yes, smoking the layup on the other end is one thing, and then committing the foul with 0.1 second left on the clock as well is just
insane.
Incredulous. And so now Nikhil has to sink the free throws. He makes the first 2. Didn't even hit the rim, I don't think they did.
No, he hit like the back of the rim.
And then the last free throw he missed on purpose.
Yeah.
And so Wolves win 6 straight. I said on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, last night, the new owner of the Denver Nuggets is the Timberwolves. I don't make the rules. They got mind control over Debo.
Something like that. I'm starting to think that the Wolves, we're wondering what their identity was this entire season. I think it's just digging themselves out of holes.
I know.
I think they like to be the underdog. They like to have a little doubt. 20 seconds left in that second overtime, and if you look at the line chart that they have for win probability, 71% Denver. With 20 seconds left in the second overtime.
No faith in the Wolves.
No faith. And the Wolves said, that's fine. They also lucked out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to give them all the credit for this win. But incredible. A win is a win at the end of the day, especially at this point in the year. But also, man, Nikhil, stepping up this year.
Yeah.
This has been a career year for him.
Absolutely.
And it's cool to see him get his flowers like this, for sure.
Yeah, and Anthony Edwards, after the game, giving the Kill some of his flowers.
I was gonna go finish, but it was like 3 people at the rim, so I'm like, it's gonna be a tough finish. And I seen him, and I didn't even know he got fouled. Honestly, I was on the ground like, damn. Then Rook come help me up like, hey, we got 3 free throws. I'm like, all right, yeah. So I didn't know that he got fouled. It means a lot. We was just talking about before the game, like this is the win we need, and we was missing 2 of our key offensive players. So for us to pull this one off is big for us.
So we see Anthony Edwards is obviously excited after that win.
Yeah.
But let's take a look, because that win actually had some implications. So I don't know if anyone was watching on a night where Nikola Jokic had a 61-point triple-double. The chef, Stephen Curry, has a 52-point, 12 threes made night in the Warriors' win over the Memphis Grizzlies. And so now, as the standings have it, the Wolves and the Grizzlies both have the same record, 44-32. Currently, the Grizzlies sit in that 6th spot to avoid the play-in as it stands. They do have another matchup against each other on April 10th in Memphis. But Memphis has beaten the Wolves 2 times this season. So if they have the same record.
They don't have the same coach.
That's another story
There's
for
a little
another
difference
day.
there.
They don't have Taylor Jenkins, but they have 2 wins over the Wolves this season, so they own the tiebreaker if the 2 of them finish with the same record. So right now, as it stands, the Wolves are in the 7th spot with the same record as the Grizzlies. They need the Grizzlies to keep losing. And, I mean, they would probably love for the Warriors to keep losing as well, but right on their heels, just a half game back of the Minnesota Timberwolves. You got the LA Clippers, 43-32. The Wolves are 44-32. And so this thing is probably going to be a fight to the finish. Julia said the Wolves look like they just like to dig themselves out of a hole. Well, this is another hole that they're going to have to dig themselves out of to end the season and try to avoid that play-in.
I mean, that's what playoff basketball is, though.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not such a bad thing that the Wolves are playing this way right now, because if anything, they know how to face adversity at this point and get themselves out of tough situations. So it's still very much up in the air about how they'll finish out this season. I don't think there's any way really to predict it or to predict what they do with the postseason. But if they can continue to keep themselves afloat, who knows?
Yeah.
The sky could be the limit at this point.
Yeah, Jekyll and Hyde Wolves team this season. But what's tough is it's been hard to grade them because for long stretches they haven't had everybody.
Right.
We even mentioned last night without Nas and Dante. So I think when they have everyone together, they feel like they can compete and beat anybody.
Yeah.
But what we've seen is these stretches where they just look like they're totally not involved with what's going on in the game. And then there are other games where you're like, wow, this team could battle for the top of the West.
Right.
Which Wolves team is going to show up, that remains to be seen. But now is the time when it gets the most critical. So we'll see how the Wolves respond. So that's quickly getting through the first segment here on KARE 11 Sports Plus. Still to come, we're going to talk a little bit of Vikings. We finally heard from the old ball coach. Kevin O'Connell spoke to the media. He did his media rounds this week, and he had some interesting things to say about J.J. McCarthy. We'll be back. Welcome back. All right, time to dig into the quarterback situation. It wouldn't be a Vikings offseason if we didn't talk about quarterback, because that's been the thing since I've been here.
It's our whole personality at this point.
Yeah, so let's dig into this quarterback conversation with the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell finally talked to the media. We hadn't heard from him since the NFL Combine. So we finally hear from him, and he does his rounds down at the NFL owners meetings in Florida. He talked to Kevin Clark from ESPN, went on his podcast, and that kind of surfaced over the weekend. Then on Monday, he talked to Tom Pelissero, so that was fun. And then on Tuesday, he sat down for a 31-minute media session where he talked about everything except quarterback, because he had, I guess, talked to all the beat writers the day before about quarterbacks. So nobody asked him about quarterback except for a couple of rogue questions about Sam Darnold and what the Seahawks are getting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway,
we care about that.
Exactly. But we did hear what Kevin O'Connell had to say about J.J. McCarthy. Thankfully, he spoke to Tom Pelissero on Monday.
He's going to be a first-year guy competing and hopefully ends up being our starting quarterback. And he's in a great position to do that. Can't wait to get to work with him. In regards to Aaron, look, Aaron and I have known each other for a long time. 4-time MVP. I can't even put into words the amount of respect I have for Aaron. So when it became a possibility that Aaron may have interest in playing for the Minnesota Vikings, our job, Kwesi, myself, amongst many others, is to evaluate what that looks like. We've had a quarterback plan in place, but J.J. McCarthy was part of that plan, selecting him with the 10th overall pick last year and really wanting to pride ourselves as an organization of a place quarterbacks want to be, Tom. They want to come here because they know we're going to do everything in our power to support them, put them in great systems to have success, and then give them the ownership to compete and go help drive our team to new levels. And we've seen it with multiple guys now over the course of my time here, and that's really been the plan all along.
All right, so he said a lot. He
always does.
But, we talked last week about what Kwesi said. They want J.J. McCarthy to be QB1.
Yep.
Well, Kevin O'Connell pretty much doubled down on what Kwesi said, or maybe not doubled down, but just confirmed. So they had a conversation with Aaron Rodgers. It actually was initiated by Aaron Rodgers.
That's what I heard.
He and Kevin O'Connell are friends, and so he did the courtesy of a 4-time MVP taking his call, having some discussions on what it possibly would look like. After having those discussions, he's like, you know what? We had a plan already in place. We drafted J.J. McCarthy 10th overall last season. Yeah, it didn't work out in his rookie year because of the injury, but we like to call it a red shirt year. And so we are excited about J.J. being healthy, being able to go through all the spring workouts. He's got his weight back up a little bit, and we're excited to have him compete to be the starting quarterback. That's what they hope to see, that he's able to compete to be the starting quarterback. I don't know who he's going to compete against. Aaron Rodgers still hasn't signed with the Steelers, so that remains to be seen. So it still is a lot of conjecture and a lot of discourse on what's going to happen. People seem to believe, who are a little bit more in the know than I am, because Kevin O'Connell said you probably need like a calculus book to try to understand how these draft compensatory picks work.
Yeah.
And so
yes.
People seem to think, who are a little bit smarter than you and I, knowing about the knowledge of the compensatory picks.
Right, you pick up Aaron Rodgers, switches things up.
But you do it after the draft so that you can gain the max of your compensatory picks. So people think that they're going to wait until after the draft to sign a veteran quarterback who can then come in and compete with J.J. McCarthy and, may the best win throughout training camp, and they hope that JJ is able to build up and become the starter next year. So what do you make of everything that you heard from Kevin O'Connell?
Well, kind of going off what you were saying, when I look at the guys that are left for quarterback besides Aaron Rodgers, I think it's just sort of the understanding that, sure, JJ McCarthy will compete with these guys, but they're banking on the fact that he's going to be better than every single guy that's left, right?
Yep.
And if, you look at that list and you're like, okay, cool. I mean, if he can't compete with them, then what are we doing here? But I do think one thing that you and I talked about was how Kevin O'Connell said that he kept J.J. McCarthy in the know about everything that was going on. There's been a very open line of communication between, I know when we talk in the media, everyone in the media here has been talking about the Aaron Rodgers thing and this, that, and the other. And I know that these guys try to stay off social media and not read the news and this, that, and the other, but they see it, But I think that the interesting part is sometimes it feels like we're creating this drama or something, but there's not that in this case at all. The communication has been very open. J.J. McCarthy, we talked about that this morning on our podcast. You guys should check it out.
Shameless plug.
he talked to Kay Adams and said, I'm hoping that I get to compete for this spot. I don't want to just be handed that. And it's the same thing that Kevin O'Connell said when he was talking about J.J. McCarthy is he's not just going to be handed this opportunity. He does have to earn it, which rightfully so. This is the NFL. This is not high school football, know. And also, another thing we talked about on our podcast in the morning was that the Vikings are in a unique spot that no one else has really been put in before. When these other teams have drafted, this is in the new draft era, a quarterback so high, they've never seen him tear his meniscus before the season starts, and then all of a sudden you don't know what to do in these situations, and you don't know what you have. And so it's an interesting spot to be in, but I think if you're going to have any coach be in this spot, who more than Kevin O'Connell would you want to be dealing with this problem, right?
Yeah.
Because he's the so-called quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
So I think it's more so everything that Kevin O'Connell was kind of what we were expecting him to say.
Yeah.
In a way, it was just nice to actually hear him say the things.
Finally.
Hear from him. I mean, we're journalists here.
Yeah.
We need to know what's going on. And so, I think that there was nothing shady about the situation, which I think could have been drawn before we heard from these guys. You could have drawn conclusions like that. But I think it was all respect for everybody involved, and I would be very surprised if we saw Aaron Rodgers anywhere near the Vikings facility at this point.
Yeah, they did their due diligence, and now they're moving forward with JJ. That's the headline. And so I think what's interesting about that is, too, Kevin O'Connell was kind of giving himself and his staff, pats on the back for how they've been able to develop quarterbacks and the success that they've had.
And they should.
With all the guys in the building. And he talked about how Minnesota has now become a destination place of where people believe that they can go and they could grow in their skills and in their talents and be able to compete and give their teams a chance to win football games. We saw Daniel Jones come in, and he didn't even play. He didn't even touch the field last season, and he ended up getting a bag from Indy. And so we saw Josh Dobbs come in and be competent. Kirk Cousins got the bag, got the bag with some of the best football that he's played in his career as well. So the hope is that J.J. McCarthy continues to stay healthy, and he comes in. He's been a sponge, continues to be a sponge, and apply everything that he's learning into success on the field. And then come next season, we don't have any of these conversations about who's going to be the Vikings quarterback the next season.
And if you think about it, should J.J. McCarthy stay healthy and just the blatant, obvious things that we know about the guy, this should be the easiest year for Kevin O'Connell to coach a quarterback ever as a head coach. Granted, Kirk, his first year, he wasn't a terrible quarterback, but I think the expectation is that J.J. McCarthy is a better quarterback than what Kirk has been in his career. And then you go into the Achilles tear, and then the running through all these quarterbacks, and then you go through Sam Darnold, which no one had any hope for. And so you're hoping that now that they're getting J.J. McCarthy back and healthy, that this is everything that they were dreaming of.
It's a guy you drafted who doesn't know anything but what the Vikings are doing.
Yeah.
And so now you're like, okay, we can mold him like clay to be exactly who we want him to be in our system. And you would just think that Kevin O'Connell is going to put him in the best possible situations to succeed. And so I know it's a lot to put on a rookie quarterback, de facto rookie quarterback, and really think that he's going to succeed because rookies take their lumps. But you think if anybody is going to be able to help coach him out of some of the ruts that he may get in, it's Kevin O'Connell. So maybe they don't win 12, 13, 14 games next season, but maybe they win 9, 10 and they get in as a wild card or something like that. Also, something that I kind of was able to uncover, Kevin O'Connell definitely pays attention to what people are saying about the Vikings.
He's on Twitter.
He keeps receipts.
He
doesn't tweet much.
He's on Twitter somewhere.
Yeah. Well, he has an account.
Oh, does he?
He just doesn't tweet much.
Yeah.
But he reads everything. He ingests everything. He knows what people are saying, and he is now out in front, able to kind of shift the narrative in the way that he wants things to be regarding his football team. Really crafty, KO.
He's a head coach in 2025.
Exactly.
We like it.
CEO approach. We like it. All right. Well, coming back, the Twins. They finally got a win. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with them. Don't go away. right, welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about the Twins. So,
1-4, let's go.
Yeah. So look, not really inspiring a lot of confidence or excitement as they build up to opening day at Target Center on Thursday against the Houston Astros. Woo! But you talk about a team that comes out, first 4 games, 5-3 loss, 5-1 loss, 9-2 loss, 9-0 loss. You're like, oh, they're going backwards.
Yeah, where's the bullpen you guys were talking about?
Exactly, and then the starting pitching, we're talking about guys like Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober being guys that people were calling dark horses for the Cy Young Award. And Bailey Ober comes out and has probably the worst game that he's had in a while. And then Chris Paddock is like, I'm going to bail you out, bruh. I'm going to do even worse. And they get blanked 9-0. And you're like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? And then last night, finally, something. They break
Something
through.
clicked.
They break through. So it was looking like the same script. It got 3-0 White Sox. And you're like, this was the worst team in baseball last year. What's going on?
Yeah.
And they get down 3-0 to the White Sox. And then in that 6th inning, Ryan Jeffers, France, Edward Julien, Jose Miranda, and now they have a 5-3 lead.
Yeah.
Right? So now you need the bullpen to do their thing. They come in, they do their thing. Carlos Correa, I don't know if you saw that play that he made. Incredible with the glove.
There he is. Oh,
yeah,
there he is.
Yeah, to save some runs. We'll talk about him in a second. To save some runs from being scored. And then Harrison Bader, the only Twin who has gone yard this season, goes yard again in the 9th inning. A 3-run bomb, 378 feet off his bat. He looks good so far. He looks like a good acquisition for the Twins. Homers against his former team, and then he homers against the White Sox. So now they got to win. Ryan Jeffers is like, whew. Listen to what he had to say to Audra Martin after the game.
Despite what the numbers say, we were hitting the ball really hard. We ran into some good pitchers early on with Sonny and some guys that were just pitching us well. We were putting some good swings on the ball, putting some good at-bats together, and nothing was finding holes. Felt like everything was going against us, and that's tough. It's tough to keep your head on straight, but knowing it's still so early and coming out here and just continuing to stay with that process and not focus on results was key for us.
So, big exhale. Maybe there's room for optimism headed into home opening day at Target Center or Target Field on Thursday. What do you think about what's going on with the Twins to start the season?
I just think it's much worse than I expected.
Ooh.
It is much worse than I expected. Pablo's start on opening day.
That was tough.
That was not. I don't know what's going on. I mean, he's supposed to be getting the start today, but while we're recording this, they're in a delay right now. I just, honestly, my point of view is I don't really know what to think. Something has to change here. I understand, you get your bats going and finally it starts clicking, but like this is baseball, you know? I mean, there's ups and downs. Maybe we're just starting in a down at this point. Yikes. That's a rough way to start your season, though.
Yeah.
And you're definitely not getting people excited to go to your home opener on Thursday.
Yeah.
If this is what you're putting out against the Astros.
Yeah.
It's very concerning. There's a lot to be concerned. It's early, guys. Okay, I don't want to be too dramatic here, but the White Sox.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That's not good. And also, are they going to strand runners like they have the past how many years? I mean, it's looking like a trend that's happening now. I just don't know. I don't know what to think. They don't have any strength that really sticks out at this point in time besides Harrison Bader, maybe. I'm just, hopeful for you Twins fans that this is just a rut they're starting out in and not a prediction for how the rest of the season goes. But this is not good.
Yeah, so we knew coming into the season that the Twins had a really slim margin for error because they didn't go out and try to improve the team. They were banking on the guys that they had and some of the youth that they have to really step up and play better. And stuff like that works for the Cleveland Guardians. You know, they had a great season last year, but for the Twins, it just doesn't help. It doesn't work. We got Rich Lewis out at the start of the season, Brooks Lee out at the start of the season. So you need your guys to really step up and do their thing. And right now, looking at some stats right here. You see that, Carlos Correa? He's hitless so far to start the season. He flashed the glove last night. You're like, okay, he's in there, but no hits, 17 at-bats. No hits.
I do think one thing, which that's concerning, obviously, and some of his defense on opening day even was a little concerning that he played. But I think maybe some solace can be found in the fact that they're a young team. They've told us over and over again in the offseason that they're relying on these young guys. So maybe they just need to get these start of the season jitters out.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what we're seeing right now, but that's the only solace that comes to mind right now without some kind of large change.
Yeah, give them a mulligan. You know, we're about to see Pablo back through the rotation, and then Joe Ryan and Ober and Paddock and Simeon Woods Richardson. And okay, the first one, they're just getting it out of their system. You know, spring training. So, you know, this is live baseball for the
this is also
real
the MLB,
first
you know,
time.
so can't give them too much grace.
Exactly. But it's ebbs and flows. This is a long 162 game season. So maybe they can turn it around. We're all hopeful because the Twins being good kind of dictates some of the summer here in Minnesota.
Dictates, I would argue, all of this.
Yeah, if the Twins are winning, like there just seems to be like a vibe in the Twin Cities. And so if they're not winning, the excitement around baseball is not there, and you're just like, dang, like it's just a dog days of summer. We're just going to go on the lake because, you know,
we'll wait around for Vikings training camp.
Exactly. You don't want to do that because that means that fall and winter is right around the corner. So fingers crossed that the Twins will get competitive and be better than the White Sox.
Please.
Yeah.
Please. That's it.
What are we doing? But anyway, that's all the time that we have. Thanks for joining us again on another edition of KARE 11 Sports Plus. That's Juju, I'm Reg, and we'll see you next week.